Hey guys, I thought I'd do another quick little video here today. It's a Sunday and I'm feeling a bit better. I had a bit of a rough week, so I finally decided I'm feeling up to doing a video, so let's get one going. I was thinking, well, what am I going to do? So I decided I had done the one earlier where I had done other authors and other books that I read and recommended, not just King. So I'm going to do my second favorite author again, Richard Bachman. And for those who are in the know, of course, people are familiar with that is actually a pseudonym for Stephen King. That was a name he wrote under several books under as another name. And I did not realize this, but apparently the reason why is it used to be in the publishing world, it used to be one book a year was considered the norm. And they didn't want to do more than that because they figured they'd burn the public out on authors if you released more than one book a year. Well, King was able to write so quickly and so many books that, he wanted to have more books released. So the best way to do that was to come up with a pseudonym. And originally, I guess his pseudonym was Gus Pillsbury. That was the name he was going to go with. I guess it was his maternal grandmother's father's name or something, or her maiden name, whatever. But yeah, Gus Pillsbury. But last minute he decided to do it as Richard Bachman. And the kind of cool thing about the Bachman thing is that every time a book would come out, he put a little blurb in the back, about the author and treating him as if he was a real person. He's married to his wife Inez. He lives here. Like he was a real person. And then they even, when he got rid of the persona of Bachman, he actually had him killed off and actually said, he had died, I believe, of cancer or something. So I mean, he was a real character in a way. There was even a story where somebody had read one of Bachman's books and said, this is what Stephen King would write if Stephen King could write. And then it turned out to actually be him. So I think that's kind of interesting that people who maybe don't even realize that it's King, they just automatically are turned off at the name. You present it to them under another name, they may actually enjoy it. So there's some interesting ones about the Bachman books, as I like to call them. That's all of the books that he wrote as Richard Bachman. The first one I want to show is kind of interesting. It's probably a bit different. This one is Blaze. Now, Blaze was actually written before his first book, Carrie, was. It was just never published by King. And so I actually have a Playboy magazine that did an interview with King from in the early 80s, I want to say 83, 84. And in that magazine, in that article, he's talking about Blaze, even though Blaze didn't actually come out until 20, 30 years later. So I think it's kind of interesting that he's had this idea for this book. He had it partially written. He sat on it for so long, and then finally did get around to releasing it. So I thought that was kind of cool. Blaze, unfortunately, I have not read, but I think I've read most of the other ones here. We're going to talk about the Bachman books. And the Bachman books is actually a series of 4 books. It's the 4 early works in his career: Rage, The Long Walk, Road Work, and The Running Man. And I'm going to talk about Rage. Rage is a little bit different. Rage is a story about a student who goes to school and there's a shooting. And King kind of felt that that by writing that, it was inspiring these school shootings. And so he didn't like that. So he let the book go out of print. And then there's also a book called the Bachman books, which is the 4 books: The Rage, The Long Walk, Road Work, and The Running Man. And all of them are in here. So you can't really find a standalone version of Rage anymore without spending an arm and a leg for it. At least a US copy or a UK copy. There are some foreign copies, like I can pick up a French one or a German one, for, fairly cheap. But the UK first edition and the US first edition, those covers are very special. They're very expensive, very rare. Those are on my wish list. If I can ever get a standalone copy of Rage, that would be my dream, to get either one of those. The UK, which is kind of more of a yellow cover, or the US one, which is the darker cover, which actually they do have a copy of the cover. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Boom, boom. There we go. Oh, maybe not in this one. In one of them, they do actually have the copy, the front thing where it shows the cover of Rage. Which is kind of, it's the student standing in front of the desk, and, it's kind of that iconic cover if you're familiar with the book at all. So that's one that I'm always looking for. But I do have Rage in 4 of the Bachman books. I have this particular cover, the paperback. It's in a little rougher shape. I also have this particular cover. There again, rougher shape. It's got something about the corners on these books just don't like to hold up. Then I also have it in hardcover, with King on the back. And this one also, I believe, still has, yep, Rage is in this one as well. Some of the re-released later copies of the Bachman books don't even have Rage in them anymore. So you're more likely going to be able to find Rage in one of the Bachman books if it's an older one than if you were to try and find it on your own. So you can still get a copy of it. Usually you're going to find it in the Bachman books like this. So pretty cool. I got this bigger paperback cover. So there again, you know, Rage is such a unique one. It's like, there we go. There's the cover I was talking about. So that one is a unique one. If you can ever find a copy of that, you know, you got to snatch that up. They're going for several thousands online. If you can get one that's even autographed, you know, that would probably, you know, so definitely worth looking out for. Then we're going to go into my next favorite Bachman story, Thinner. Now this one's kind of fun because, you know, it does have the movie. It was made into a movie in 96, I want to say, somewhere around there. So we've got Thinner. The white man from town, you know, and I don't know if you're familiar with the story of it. Basically, this lawyer, there's a car accident. He kills this poor gypsy woman. Her father lays a curse on him, the police chief, and the judge who kind of swept it under the rug, and it just kind of goes from there. So yeah, pretty cool book. Excellent movie. I would definitely recommend checking it out. I've got several copies of that though. We have the re-release Richard Bach Thinner by Stephen King, written as Richard Bachman with the blue handprint on the cover, and then picture on the back. Then we have the more original red handprint as a novel by Richard Bachman, and this is the book club edition. And then this one is the regular mass market for sale edition. You can kind of see slightly different sizes, but one's a little thicker. But yeah, so I've got those two. Then we have the longer mid-2000s re-release. The paperback with the blue Stephen King blue handprint. Stephen King Thinner. Stephen King writing as Richard Bachman Thinner with the red handprint. And then the movie tie-in Thinner. And I guess I missed the movie tie-in when I did my movie tie-ins. I don't think I had included Thinner in that one. So there you go. There's another movie tie-in there. Then after Thinner, we have Roadwork. And I have two copies of Roadwork. There again, one is the shinier cover and one is the duller cover. So I don't know if you can tell the difference there. This is the duller one. This is the shinier one. Slightly different, but not big difference. Then The Long Walk. I got a couple different ones of those. We've got the oh no, that's Running Man. We'll come back to him. We've got the mid-90s, early 2000s release. So there you go, written as Richard Bachman, The Long Walk. And The Long Walk is a bit different. It's an interesting story. I don't think they've made it into a movie. I think that's something that would be actually kind of interesting to see as a movie. So, I mean, if they ever get around to doing something like that, I'd definitely watch it. Then the next one that we're showing has actually been made into a movie, but we don't count that as a King movie. So we've got The Running Man. We've got this cover from the late 90s, early 2000s release. We have the Thinner standalone one, which I don't understand how this and this are the same story because it's so much difference in size. Then we have The Running Man in German. Then we have The Running Man movie tie-in. And then we actually have The Running Man the movie. And King didn't actually want his name on this, so I believe he's actually it is credited as Richard Bachman in the credits of the based on the story by Richard Bachman. So King didn't actually even want his name listed on that, kind of like The Lawnmower Man. So they listed it under Richard Bachman, and he was okay with that. Then we come into the Regulators. Now the Regulators is a bit different because it was released at the same time with a King book called Desperation, and when you put the two of them together, it makes one picture. And then on the back of each one, there's a little circle, and this is showing the cover of this book, and then this one is showing the cover of this book. So they're interconnected. It's basically the same story, same characters, just different locations and a few variational changes. So it's kind of different. There was a movie made for Desperation. it was a good movie. Ron Perlman was in it. I recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it already. Nothing made for the Regulators, unfortunately. I do also have this one from Richard Bachman, The Regulators. It's a slightly smaller version of The Regulators. This was a book club edition, and unfortunately they never made a book club edition of the Stephen King cover of this one, so you don't have a small Desperation to go with the small Regulators, unfortunately. So that's kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. I also have to go along with the Regulators. Now that was King's, that was written as Richard Bachman, so we have the mid-2000s release. This one came out paperback. This is the first paperback, and it has this opening on the inside. And then the shiny early 2000 release there. So yeah, those are all the Richard Bachman books that I have. I'm always on the lookout for more. If I can definitely get a copy of Rage UK or US edition, that would just be right on the top of my list. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how he writes as other people and how people react to those writings. You know, like I said, the story about the guy who's like, oh yeah, this is what King would do if King could actually write, and then it turns out that yeah, no, he can. So very interesting. A lot of authors do different I don't know what the correct term is, but different other names that they write under. So I think that's kind of neat that King did it too. I'm kind of disappointed that we don't have any great horror fiction from Gus Pillsbury. That might have been an interesting author to follow, but I hope everyone is staying safe. I hope everyone is keep reading, and I hope you enjoy.